a Boardroom Talk from the Indian corporate governance domain. Today, India is the sweet spot for the world to look for the businesses and investment opportunities. And when India is eyeing towards to become the $5 trillion economy very soon, it's going to be through its leaders of corporate India, the board of directors who are playing the major role, and also various other pillars of corporate governance. Now, boardrooms are the place where fortunes of great companies are written. And we, through this Boardroom Talk series, bring you the unheard boardroom stories, the experiences where all the pillars of good governance, now whether it is promoters, founders, independent directors, executive directors, women directors, or even the CEOs, CXOs, company secretaries, CFOs, who play very, very crucial role. Before we move forward, let me welcome our guest for the day today, Shivanand Shettigar ji, and welcome to this Boardroom Talk series, sir. And let me briefly introduce what Mentor My Board is. Mentor My Board today is the brand known to even Finance Minister of our country, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji. We hold various certification programs like WOM, Women on Management and Boards, IDEAL, Independent Directors, Education and Learning Program, Boardroom Mastery Certification Program. And we believe in continuous learning, and hence our Board Tattva series are very well appreciated by our members and board aspirants. Now, log into the platform to get access to 70 plus blogs, various tools which are required to be more effective in your role as directors, professionals, various opportunities as boardrooms for boardrooms, and very other informative content. Do join Momentum of Good Governance with us and join the platform MentorMyBoard.com. Welcome to this 49th Boardroom Talk and 7th in this series with our eminent personality today, uh, Mr. Shivanand Shettigar, who is Company Secretary and Compliance Officer for Yes Bank Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank
And
you.
it's indeed pleasure to introduce our speaker, our guest for today. So CS Shivanand Shettigar is the fellow company secretary LLB with 30 years of diverse experience in the regulatory compliance, legal and corporate governance. Mr. Shivanand is currently the group company secretary of Yes Bank. He's been associated with Yes Bank since last 10 years and responsible for advising the board and the management on governance and regulatory matters. Prior to joining Yes Bank, he has worked with 3i Infotech for 17 years as global general counsel and company secretary that has 30 plus subsidiaries and joint ventures in India and overseas. He has widely traveled around, I think, 26 countries and has been exposed to regulatory framework in multiple junctions. He is on the board of several subsidiaries, or he was on the board of several subsidiaries of 3i Infotech, and he has also worked with Cipla Limited and SR Group during his initial tenure. Now, significant achievements of Mr. Shivanand include board management change dynamics, IPO, larger FPO of 15,000 crore, QIPs, uh, preferential issues, bonus issues, foreign convertible bonds, acquisitions, mergers, quality systems processes, automation, ESOP systems, and thus has extensive experience of dealing with regulatory matters and governance at the highest level. And I think this brings us to so much uh, a person as a company secretary has so much to do in the corporate journey and corporate life, and it's such a wonderful to see your experience here. And before we start with deep interactions with Shivanand sir, let me share that don't forget to like, subscribe, share our YouTube page, LinkedIn pages, so that you keep getting timely notifications about such interesting and interactive talks with eminent board leaders and professionals, and keep asking your questions for our speakers for the day so that we can take up those questions at the end of the talk. And let's deep dive into the journey of Mr. Shivanand Shettigar, as the corporate professional. Now, welcome, sir, to this talk show. And I also welcome all our viewers who are joining us, who will be joining, or who will be watching this show, anytime after today. So, sir, I mean, I've seen or I've heard your story of being from a very small town in Karnataka, I guess, and then moving towards today a company secretary of Yes Bank. Can you share your story uh, from a person from a small town to the compliance officer of a conglomerate bank like Yes Bank?
Yeah, thank you, Divya, for, for the opportunity in the first place, and also wonderful introduction. And also happy to note, that this is your 49th episode. So, oh, probably, the next one is 50th. So I don't
Yes,
know. So
absolutely.
it is very right time, I thought. Give me a minute.
Sure.
So, so basically, to give you my introduction, which I generally feel very proud to talk about, right? And I am basically from a small village in Udupi, Karnataka, and we are basically a poor family, at that time. So my father is only first standard studied, and my mother had no formal education. So, and my father had a vision that all the boys have to study up to 10th standard and all the girls have to study up to 7th standard, in spite of all the poverty. So, so after my 10th, I am the sixth child in the family of seven children. So after 10th, he said, now I can't afford further education. You need to take care of yourself. And I started working as a tailor in Udupi. And then after 1 year, I thought, need more income. So I thought Mumbai city is the place happening, because my brother-in-law used to be here in Mumbai. I said I'll come to Mumbai to become a tailor. So he said, "ठीक है, आ जाओ, we'll see." And then when I came, he said, "Okay, you work as a tailor during the day, but you join night college." So he made me to join night college. After a year, I started going to the college. That way, I completed my 11th, and then I become then law, and then CS. So 3 years I worked as a tailor, and 1985 I joined my first company as a office boy cum clerk kind of a thing. I used to go to post office, dispatch articles and all. So the journey has been fantastic. So I never thought that I will reach up to this level, and it was just that I took my job seriously, my study seriously, and God has been kind.
That's really, I mean, in fact, I should have modified or tweaked my introduction as a person who started with uh, a tailoring as a profession, and then the passion towards learning and growing in life has taken you where it's really wonderful. So can you also speak about your journey with Ria Infotech, your journey with Yes Bank in detail, that how has you been seeing the governance evolving, because with 3 decades of you being in the profession, you have seen the governance in India overall evolving. So can you speak about that?
Yeah, because 3i Infotech I joined, it was basically my second job after CS. I joined at a very junior level, but I grew with the organization till up to one level below the board. And 3i Infotech, it was part of ICICI Bank Group, and they wanted to grow, become a global IT company. And there were a lot of challenges. I think the one of the strategy they adopted was to grow through inorganic growth. So there was a continuous acquisitions happening, and I had an opportunity of interacting with the promoters of multiple companies, closing share purchase agreement and integrating the board, post acquisitions, transfer of employees. So a lot of challenges were there. And you know we never adopted any shortcut method, because when acquisitions happens and the business get integrated, mergers happens and the board get integrated, you need to appoint lot of promoter directors into the uh, our board, and a lot of things. So uh, I think one thing which worked in shaping the governance and ensure that there was proper regulatory controls, and also the the board functioning happens, to the optimum level. The chairman of the board and the CEO, used to take lead and make it happen. So that way, it was, that's what, as I said, 30 plus subsidiaries. I was asked to, because from compliance side, my CEO used to ask me to be on the board of some of the subsidiaries. So, dealing with the multiple jurisdictions, compliance mechanism, and also giving comfort to the board that things are under control. So that was the challenge. So yes, because if I can talk a lot, there are a lot of things, and same thing with S Bank, because when I joined S Bank in 2013, it was a promoter driven. Now it is a professionally driven. So a lot of changes have happened. So yeah.
Super.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. So I think very important point what you brought is the professionals, the company secretaries, or the chartered accountants, or any professional for that matter at a CXO level. The
yes,
person maybe into supply chain, they are very very strong backbone of the board governance.
yes,
Without that, I don't think boards will be able to make that effective decision making. And one very important aspect which I have also been observing is that a lot of company secretaries today, see the compliance as a tick box activity themselves, theoretical. They say that okay, board meeting करना है, minutes file करना है, record करना है, resolutions file करना है with the ministry, form file करना. They don't go beyond that. So how have you seen, your journey different from that? And what has been that differentiator in your journey when you really speak about the role of company secretaries or professionals one level below the board, because that's where even the quality of the boardrooms gets decided. How is your one level below the boardrooms? So we also, these talks are listened by a lot of promoter directors also. So I want them to understand that what quality of team they should have with them. So this is question related to that. So go ahead, sir.
yeah. I think the basic fundamental thing what we need to understand that that the regulators are the business enablers. Okay, as long as you go with that mindset, if you see the whole regulatory framework, though they would expect a lot of reports, returns, etc., but end of the whole theme is to promote the business in a ethical manner, right?
Right.
So, so it is important to understand that regulators are there to act as a facilitator for conducting the business in a rightful and ethical manner. So, if the regulations are followed in true spirit and applied in business, the organizations will survive for long years. Otherwise, so people will come and go at short period. So, I believe that regulators lay down the very strong foundation. If you see today, whether it's SEBI or RBI, the kind of a regulatory foundation is there. So if you take those regulations seriously, I don't think business will fail. So, my differentiator has been that, so and I have seen basically the professionally driven organization and the promoter driven organization who created, huge wealth for the stakeholders and promoters themselves by conducting the business in a very ethical manner within the framework of the laws. You take example of L&T or Mahindra and Mahindra. L&T being a professionally driven, Mahindra and Mahindra promoter driven. Both of them, they respect the regulations highly, and they conduct the business within the framework of law. But at the same time, they are the number one there in their field. So if the regulations are taken seriously, I don't think anybody need to look at the regulation as a bottleneck. So
Correct.
as a company secretary, that is what I always try to do. So I try to deliver value by ensuring the proper compliance. But I believe we earn our salary or bonus if the business succeeds, right? And they have to succeed, they have to perform, they have to sustain. So our role is basically to see how to enable the board and the management to conduct our business within the framework of law without shortcut. And this is what I have seen. And you know the spirit is important rather than the tick box compliance. So I have
Abs-
seen, even if you fail in your tick box compliance, when you receive a notice from regulator, if you explain them, why this has been done, what is the spirit behind this, what are the constraints, and regulator will understand. And there were so many cases where we would not have been 100% compliance in the tick box, but in the spirit you would have complied everything, because end of the day it is very difficult to sometime to tick every box. So the focus of the company secretary should be, rather than the spirit, and rather, instead of only listing to the going by tick box compliance, it is like, you may tick all the box, then it is like, operation successful, patient died. So
Absolutely.
end of the day, business has to survive. If the business has to survive, you have to see what the regulators is expecting. The regulator is expecting that the business should flourish, right? The business should flourish, but within the framework of law. So as long as we keep that aspect in mind, I think we would have achieved that
Absolutely.
differentiator.
Absolutely. I think very important message you gave to the professionals, that you have to be there for the value addition, because
Yes,
if the organizations are succeeding, then you're going to get your salary. So you
yes,
have to not only work for your salary, your family, that's there, but
yes,
then making sure that wherever you're working, also you're adding value in whatever role you're being there. So that's
yes,
such a powerful message. Thank you so much for this, sir.
yes.
Now, I mean, I mean, I open this forum for the questions also from the audience. Please ask your questions for our speaker. And I move to the next question is, how is the role of company secretary important? And how do they play their major role in the board governance? And very specifically, if I ask, what is it that before the board meeting they are supposed to do, and what is it post board meeting they are supposed to do? So I'm not going to, I mean, ask you about the typical what is written in the law, but what are the practicalities of that position? So over to you.
Okay. So, but let me answer this in a different manner. See, if we compare the whole board governance, it is like a family matter, right?
Right.
So I would compare the board is like a father of the family, head of the
Okay.
family, and the role of the company secretary is like a mother. Okay, the company secretary is their soul. So without company secretary, board cannot function, right?
Correct.
It is the mother at the home. She decides what kind of food you need to eat, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your care, your health, and like for example, my wife decide even what shirt I should wear when I go to office. So it is like the caring, right? So if you, and the your family members are the stakeholders for the board, right? So your investors, shareholders, regulators. So board is like a head of the family. They are responsible to the stakeholders. Company secretary basically meets every requirement of the board.
Correct.
uh, like suppose if I have to compare that with the regulations. Now, for example, there are whole lot of regulations like Companies Act, LODR, Banking Regulations Act, which lay down the what is the role of the board, what is the role of the independent director, what is the role of stakeholders committee or the remuneration committee in the terms of reference. So there are a whole lot of regulations which list down, like audit committee, what is supposed to do. So the board members are the independent directors. They are not very much familiar with the regulations. So
Correct.
their role, they come with the experience and wisdom. Their role is to basically help the business to grow, help create the wealth for the stakeholders in a governance, good ethical manner, right? So it is a company secretary who is hands-on on all the regulations, and who prepare, whether it is master agenda checklist, terms of reference of the committees, and preparing the agenda minutes and these kind of things, and the action tracker.
Correct.
Post board meeting, there is action tracker. All that guidance received from the board are tracked and ensure that they are implemented and responded back to the board on time. So the that's what I said. The I don't think board can function without the company secretary. So it is so much interlinked. each other, and that there is but the board is heavily depending on the company secretary
Absolutely
to discharge all their responsibility. And it is not only the regulatory compliance when it goes to the agenda, even your business reviews, your strategic matters, everything has to be coordinated by the company secretary. And
correct.
company secretary ensures that it is given on ready platter to the board to come and discuss and deliberate. So it is
Correct.
like the father of the family goes out, earns, and comes and hand over the income to the mother to take care, right? So, so it is
Right.
like that. So, and also company secretary also, it is not that before and after the meeting, and company secretary works with the board throughout the year,
Hmm.
including
Right.
your, performance evaluation of the board. Company secretary has to really coordinate everything. He has to enable, and whether it is your director's report, corporate governance report. If you see any regulation, no regulation specifically talks about what is the responsibility of the company secretary. It is everybody say what is the responsibility of the board, right? But you can't expect the board to go and read the law. It is the company secretary who reads the laws and decide, okay, what to do, how to do, and then he is there to protect, guide the board, right? So that way he plays a very very comprehensive role. And even when you're responding to the stakeholders, your agms, and you're responding to stakeholders, investors, regulators, it is everything is coordinated by the board and by the company secretary. So he becomes the beginning and end of
The
the
center
whole
point.
board, whole board process, right?
Absolutely.
So this is what I want to say. uh,
Right. Absolutely, sir. And I think before the board meeting, coordination with all the departments,
Yes.
because the reporting which is going to be going into the boardroom is something I think very, very important, because that will help, or that enables the boards, the directors, to ensure what kind of decisions, what quality of decisions they are going to take. I mean, I can, actually tell you a case where in one of the company, because the information did not reach on time to the board could not take the decision, and the independent directors postponed the decision to the next meeting.
Yes.
And in the next meeting also the decision could not be taken, and ultimately the company suffered, or the employees suffered, because that the decision of phantom shares or esops, you know the board did not have the data, and
Yes.
that's where the decision could not be taken, and all the employees suffered because company dropped the ESOP plan completely.
Proposal. Yes.
Exactly. And it was just because the right information did not come to the board to take the
Yes.
decision at
Yes.
that time. I can completely correlate with what you're saying, and the role becomes so critical. So we
Yes.
have a question here before I have my other questions. How to maintain the governance, and any challenges which faced by you, if you would like to share on that.
No, governance, the challenges, sometimes there are a lot of situations where you may be pushed to do certain things which may not be fair and right, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we should have that conviction and courage to say no when it is required to be said no. So if you become a yes man for everything, then you are not performing your role, right?
Right.
So you should know where to say no, and you should also have the ability and the knowledge and experience to convince why are you saying no. So
Hmm.
I have seen if you are able to tell with the proper reasoning why this cannot be done, and I think people will understand. People will understand.
Absolutely.
So these challenges are there. As I said, the responsibility of the board is to create value, right? So they will always push, and but at the same time they are also conscious of the fact that the it has to be done within the framework of law. So as long as you are able to explain those things, so
Hmm.
like very early in my career, when my boss called me and asked me to do certain things, I went with the 10 things saying that sir ये नहीं कर सकता, ये नहीं कर सकते, ये नहीं कर सकता, ये प्रॉब्लम है. He said यार वो तो सब लोग बोल सकते हैं, बुक पढ़ के everybody can say you can't do anything, right?
Correct.
Why did you study it? Why did you completed company secretary course or studied the law? You are here to read the law, understand it, and how you can use the law, for the development of the organization. You have to come with a solution. If you
Correct.
don't go with a solution, if you just go with the list of what law says, then you are not required. Like in one of the meetings, one of the governance seminars, the question was asked to the chairman of the panel, the about the lawyers being on the board.
Hmm.
Though he said, I will never appoint lawyers on my board.
Oh,
Okay. He said, I am here to do business. If I
correct,
have a problem, I will go to lawyer for a solution. Because
correct.
if I appoint a lawyer in my board, every time he is going to come and tell me you can't do this.
Absolutely.
I think that is what, as a governance professional, it is for us to understand that law is there to protect the business, not to derail the business. So as
Correct.
long as we have that mindset, I don't think we will face any challenges.
Absolutely. And having that business acumen is very, very important, even when we are,
Yes,
playing our roles as company secretaries. Very well
yes,
said, sir. Thank you so much.
yes.
And I can see a lot of fan following of yours in the chat box. You can go through those messages later on. But let me move to the next question here. What are the five takeaways you would like to share from your journey for the company secretaries and the budding professionals? Uh, so over to you.
Five takeaways. Okay. So I can only talk what I have personally,
Please.
followed in my
Yes.
life. The
Yes.
First of all, take your job seriously, right? So there are a lot of stakeholders who are trusting us and depend on us to protect their investment, grow their investment, and stakeholders, that includes our family, right? So if we take our job seriously, I think our family don't have to worry, right? And our stakeholders don't have to worry. So I think the
Correct.
first point what we need to do is that we have to be 100% committed in what we are doing. The knowledge may be there, may not be there. Knowledge can be picked up if you don't have the right knowledge or experience, but if you take your job seriously, everything will come automatically. And second suggestion, I would say that don't look for immediate return or gain.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were pursuing our career, we were never looking at what is the bonus increment I'll get at the end of the year. Our
Mm.
focus was always to do work which is there on the platter,
Correct.
right? So the rewards will automatically come as long as you deliver value to the organization. Rewards will automatically come. So you have
Ab-
to basically work with the management, creating value for the stakeholders. And when you create value for the stakeholders, your value will also be created, right?
Correct.
So that is the second point I would say. And third point is continuously learning and reinventing ourselves.
Mm.
So in life, change is only constant. Okay, so you can't live without change, and the change will happen. So it is our responsibility to tune ourselves to the changing, life, work life scenarios or the technology, and reinvent ourselves. Maybe sometime it is said that it may be easy to reach up to the top, but it is
Mm.
difficult to sustain that. Right. So you need to basically reinvent ourselves. I think this is the third point I would say. Fourth point is be grateful. I think we need to be grateful to the society, environment, our friends, family, organizations, and the government and nature. I keep telling my people today, the who is creating employment opportunities. It is the private entrepreneurs, promoters who takes all the risk and then give you a platform to come and contribute and work there. Right? You
Right.
work and they pay you salary, so there is a ready platform for you to go and perform. So unless we are being grateful to our employers or the society, we learn a lot of things from our society, our friends. So the life is all about being grateful, and
Mm.
and whenever you get an opportunity, you pay back, right? So
Correct.
we should always live with sense of gratitude. This is what the fourth point I would say. Fifth one is being spiritual. So I have picked up this habit of being spiritual, and there are so many books available. So many gurus are there. There are online media, online lectures available. Lot of materials available. One need to be spiritual because it is not that about the materiality all the time. So
Correct.
one of the Sadguru used to tell that there is no container service when you leave this earth and go, right? You come with the body, and body gets merged with the five elements of the earth. So what goes back is only the deeds, good deeds that you have done, right? So being spiritual, and this helps us to remain calm and focused in our work. If you're worried all the time what will happen to my if I do work like this, what will happen, whether my boss will fire, whether I'll get a notice from the regulator. If you are worried all the time, you will not be able to perform up to your maximum potential.
True
So
thought.
the spiritual thinking and that uh, understanding that end of the day you are here to perform your role in a limited manner, I think that will help. I think these are the five takeaways
Wow.
I would
So
say.
meaningful. And I think each and every sentence you mentioned is, worth cherishing, implementing. Thank you so much for this. Now, last question, because we have already reached 11:30 and we ensure that we don't exceed, but there are few questions in the chat box on YouTube. CS Nupur has asked, Manoj Bhai Sonawala has asked the question. I'll take that, but before that, let me ask you my last question, and then we'll ensure that next 5 minutes we are winding up. Can
Sure.
you mention one key message for all the promoters and founders aspiring to grow on how they create stakeholders' value, and what one thing they would like to improve? I mean, what you would like to improve in Indian governance ecosystem?
Okay. So I don't know what kind of a message I can give to the promoter, but personally, see, I have got huge respect for the promoters. It is,
Yeah,
if you see in India, it is the government plays a very limited role, and there are very limited direct employment government can offer, right? While government creates the ecosystem with the proper regulations and the governance mechanism, control mechanism, it is the promoters who put their money, who takes all the risk, right? And they create lot of employment opportunity to the people in India.
right.
You know, the if people are have to get job, it is the private entrepreneurs who provides the job opportunity. So I got huge respect for the promoters who create value, wealth for themselves, and also help the people to create wealth for themselves.
Correct.
And yeah, but uh, the issue is generally, as I said, just to again to connect to little bit of spirituality. So where the most of the people think that my family is, it is my immediate family, right?
Hmm.
So it is, if the promoters start thinking that the my family, it is the whole society and the nation and the world at a large, and it is humanity which is important, right? So then probably when they create value or the wealth, and they will not adopt any shortcut method.
Correct.
See, all these governance failures happens what? Everybody wants to accumulate wealth for their family.
Family.
Everybody knows that they are not going to take when they die, right? They think that I'll create wealth for my sons, daughters, and my no, next four generation don't have to work if I create value. I think the shortcut method which people adopt, I think that is where the governance fails. So
Absolutely. And
if we
correct.
avoid shortcut methods, do the business in sincere and ethical manner, I think, as I gave the example earlier, you can grow enormously and survive 100, 200 years if you do your business in ethical and within.
Absolutely. And I think Manoj Bhai also raised this question, about family. And
Yeah.
he mentioned that he's seen a lot of family fights in the boardrooms.
Yes.
So, and what you mentioned, the point is very, very, important, that the promoters have to rise above, only thinking of their family as the family,
Yes.
but extending all the stakeholders, whether it are regulators, whether it is society as large, to inculcate in their mindset when they think of the family. I think
Yes.
that, eliminate all those fights also in the boardroom, because then their extended family will be larger. So
Mm.
thank you so much, sir, for being here with us, sharing your valuable thoughts. And I think, especially, when I heard your journey, when I heard the insights, and the way you connect the profession, the spirituality, the business, it's such wonderful thing. So, let me thank on behalf of everyone. And I could see a lot of fan followings here for you, that, a lot of messages are there for you. Please go through that afterwards, sir. And let me, share with you all, that we've started our mega initiative in across various cities, wherein we are interacting with building strong community of board leaders, professionals across India. We are coming to Nagpur on 25th of August, and do register. if you want to join in and expand with your elite network, and to get also the deeper insights on the boardrooms. So stay tuned for the next week's boardroom talk with yet another personality from the Indian boardrooms. Stay tuned and have a great Sunday with your family and friends. At last but not the least, thank you, Shivanand sir, and all our viewers for sparing your time on Sunday morning. Sir, thank you so much for sharing your journey, being a professional. And I think also you have dealt with a lot of roles as directors on behalf of your company, and seeing governance evolving over the years and the way you shared your vision for the future board leaders of India. Thank you so much. And it's indeed pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Divya, for the opportunity and all the best. And maybe you achieve your 100th series of these very soon. Thank you.
Thank
And
you. Thank you so much for your wishes, sir.